Welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bachynski. That's me. Today I've got some great leaks from John Mueller for the year 2017, all the stuff he's come out with so far. It's very interesting stuff he's come out with so far, so let's get right to his leaks and we'll see what Google is up to in this auspicious new year. Okay, so the first thing, so January 10th, he had a hangout and he talked about a couple of things. I'm not going to go, I've gone through a couple of them already in my White Hat versus Black Hat SEO podcast. Just so you're wondering, the SEO podcast will come out whenever we feel like doing it. And then I'll do these videos in between. So you'll have something coming from me. It'll either be the White Hat versus Black Hat kind of debate where we talk about Black Hat stuff and White Hat stuff. And this is more just kind of the leaks and the experiments and tips that I think you need to know to rank very well. So with that in mind, so first off, he said, he was asked about 301s, and he said that we don't see any problems with 301s when something bad is happening. So no, you can't disavow them, nor is there a point to disavowing them. So he was asked, should I disavow these 301s? People pointing links to me. He said, no, there's no point. You can't disavow 301s, and there's no point to disavow 301s. He claims that that's not a negative SEO tactic and that can't be used against somebody else. True or not, I don't know. But if it could, you can be pretty sure that the Google team would want to make the 301s disavowable, and that, well, there's an interesting point to that. Actually, let me get to that in a second. And that he would say this. As memory recalls, in my wooden block of a head, he has been asked this question in the past. And in the past, he gave a different answer. In the past, he said, I don't know, he hummed and hawed. And then he said, just disavow the domains that the link juice is coming from. So let's say this domain links to this 301 that points to this site. He said, just disavow this domain on this site. And this 301 domain if you own it. And that way you should be disavowing the link. Again, I'm not even sure the disavow file works at all. If I've shown an experiment to prove that it doesn't, although people keep doing it. And you talk to Black Hats out there, you talk to White Hats out there, and anyone in the know kind of agrees. Like Eric Lancheres agrees with me. Holly, the Black Hat, agrees with me. Lots of big name people who are just not in the Google group, right, agree with me. Not that I needed them to. I have 8 experiments showing it doesn't work. I've tested up to like 60 sites now showing that it doesn't work. If it does anything at all it does is demote your sites. There was one small exception that Mary Haynes did and sent to me, and I'm a completely upfront, honest guy. And she did do a disavow on a site a few weeks earlier, and it did go up like 3 or 4 spots a few weeks later. There is no reason to believe the disavow had anything to do with that. Every other site that is disavowed has either not gotten any better or lost rankings tremendously. So I think the evidence, the vast bulk of evidence shows that the disavow doesn't do anything good for you. I wouldn't do it at all. But so what about the 301? And they're trying to do some negative SEO to me or something, or maybe I was trying to do some Black Hat, maybe I don't think I did it right, and now I'm worried. Ignore it. Ignore it entirely. Just enjoy that free link juice. Google has very good algorithms. And I think the difference, because John Mueller said to disavow it before, and now he says don't bother, very, very clearly don't bother, is that Google has been made aware of this in the meantime, and they've improved their algorithms to deny 301 link juice, unless you control both sites in Search Console, right? They've said that before. If you control both sites in Search Console, it'll work. Otherwise, we have auto-ignore algorithms. So I think that's what's happening here. And I don't think the disavow file works anyway. So again, I would really stay away from it, and I would try to improve your quality score. Quality score is the new PageRank, guys. It's like a score out of 0 to 100 or 1 to 10, just like PageRank is. And I think it's just as important as PageRank these days. I think PageRank, quality score, and your LSI, your on-page semantic, is what ranks you these days, with some differences like social and a few local personalization modifiers, stuff like that. Okay. He says, fairly blatantly admits that we look at clicks at the site level. So he works with multiple algos at once. It works with multiple algos at once. So he seems to be implying in this January 10th hangout that the static quality issues that they used to look for and that I made a giant list for on themoralconcept.net. If you haven't seen my giant Panda list, what I did, it's a few years ago, I looked at all the leaks that Google had put out to date about what exactly they think is low quality, and I made a list from the Quality Raters Guideline to individual leaks from Miley Oye, Matt Cutts, Gary Ilyish, John Mueller, of specific things they said that they thought were low quality, and I made a giant list of that as kind of like the default list. Don't do this. This is probably what Panda looks for. Now, a few years have passed now, and I think they've gotten rid of all that. Matt Cutts doesn't work there anymore. Amit Singhal doesn't work there anymore. Their new head of search was John Gianandri, was previously their head of AI. They're not even saying, Miley Oye reported a few months ago, they're not even saying mobile first is their mantra. AI first is their mantra. So I think RankBrain and their quality score, the 2012 patent described a quality score based on if they do a search, they go to the SERP, they go to the site, they go to a couple pages, and what do? How fast they do that and how well they do that, how well satisfied they look is the basis of your quality score. That's exactly what the 2012 Panda patent, it was called the Panda patent. That's exactly what it detailed. And John Mueller does talk about that a little bit more, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So that's how I think they're determining quality, because at the end of the day, there's too many different kinds of sites and too many different kinds of search queries for them to have a static algorithm for all of them. So they have a static algorithm for some, like too many ads above the fold, or like an interstitial pop-up, stuff like that, being over a keyword density threshold, which I've got an awesome experiment I'm going to share with you in a second about that. Lots of really good stuff in this video. So I think it's all based on watching where people click and what they do. Now, if you say, well, what about the noise they talk about? What about, if people are bouncing around? Well, then they don't count that, right? If they can't clearly tell it was a win or a loss, they're not going to count it. But after 1,000 visitors or 10,000 visitors or some number that they've probably statistically determined, by this point, we can be pretty sure within a variance of plus or 5% that this site is succeeding or failing. Then we'll give it a quality score based on how well it's succeeding or failing. It's not hard to do. If I can think of it, they can think of it. So that's exactly how the Panda patent is written in 2012. So, that's probably what they're doing. They probably don't have that many static algorithms anymore. It's probably mostly based on the clicks, because that's the direct metric of telling whether or not this is a good website or not. Whether people click and they convert, right? Whether it's a blog page, they read it, they was informed, and they went back. And I've got great information about that too. A leak came out for that. Or they went to a e-commerce page and they purchased, So whoever does that better is going to win. I've done tests in the past where we tried to negative SEO sites, test sites, I assure you. And we tried to make them go down by having bounce rate really high and not converting. That didn't happen. What happened was the site that we ended up converting on, that looked like they terminated the search, that site went up, all the other sites went down. Not just those sites went down and that site stayed there. So, there's two separate experiments. So I know that it's the one that wins gets the bonus, gets a higher quality score than the rest, right? Its quality score is 6 out of 10 as opposed to everyone else has got 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. It doesn't matter if their page rank is 6 or 7 out of 10. Page rank is going away. Quality score is where it's at. Okay, I've got tons more leaks about that. Let me get to this. So, by the way, on January 10th, that's when the interstitial penalty went live for mobile. And I'm wondering maybe for desktop as well. I'm not sure, because again, pretty soon they're going to be moving to the mobile first index, where they're going to rank desktop sites on mobile signals, as opposed to what they're doing now is ranking mobile sites on desktop signals. They're going to be switching that because, as Google has long been telling us, well over 50% of their search traffic is now on mobile phones, and so they're trying to give the most efficient results to the bulk of their users, which is now on mobile. So that paradigm shift has already happened. Go back and watch my previous videos about more information about that, because it's a big change. It could be a big change, but it's not out yet, and it may not be out for a few months. So go back and watch my videos about that. John Mueller admits inadvertently, when asked if HTTPS is a Panda signal, he said that the Singhal list is only anecdotal. So the Amit Singhal list, which actually was written by Matt Cutts, he told me personally. I don't know why he did that. Both A, wrote it and put Amit Singhal's name on it, and B, told me. I know why he did this one, because he didn't want to get the flack from other SEOs, which is largely the reason I think why he quit, because of the grief that SEOs, some SEOs were giving him. I don't know why, because he was being unethical, being a bit of a hypocrite. You know, in some people's opinions, you know, and some people told him. And then he quit a couple months later. I'm not saying that's my fault. Anyway, moving right along. So John Mueller he admits inadvertently that when he was asked if HTTPS is a Panda signal, he admitted in the course of that answer that the emit sing all list of the 22 things that you're supposed to avoid, which was always terrible, which is why I made my list, which is much more specific, on themoralconcept.net, themoralconcept.net. John Mueller inadvertently admitted that list is only anecdotal and not the exact things they're looking for. So again, that's more evidence for them watching clicks. I know people have been watching my videos for the last couple of years. I've been saying, guys, this is coming. This is coming. They're doing it for the last 3 years. Then 2 years I'm saying they're doing it. And now I'm saying, one, they're really doing it. They're not testing anymore. This is the bulk of their system. You know, people have been watching for years know that that's the case. So for those people, I apologize that I have to sound like a broken wheel, a broken record every time and just keep repeating this. But I still get emails of people, how should I build my PBN? And, you know, all that information is still there and people still think that's the main way to do SEO. It's not. Links are important, but they're getting less and less important, and they have such a poor return on investment, such a high risk value of not doing it right, such a poor return on investment. I would go for the quality score first, because ultimately that's going to rank you or sink you anyway, no matter what links you have. Okay, he did remind us, make sure your 404 pages are useful for the user. He did remind us that that's very, very important. Again, interesting. So for the clicks, that probably will affect your quality score. Or they could have a static algorithm that just says if you have too many 404s that are crap, just like a static Apache 404 error, not even a page. That could be a problem. That was in the quality raters guidelines, something to look for also in my static Panda list on themoralconcept.net. So again, whether it's a static algorithm or user clicks, it doesn't really matter. At the same time, it's low quality, and they keep warning us about it, so we have to pay attention to it because they're probably warning us for a reason. He said, and this is interesting, the manual web spam people do use website quality as a metric when applying a penalty. Okay, so even if it's a link penalty or any other kind of penalty, not just a pure spam penalty, they do use, he's admitted, he's gone on record to admit that the manual web spam team does use website quality as a metric when deciding whether or not to apply a penalty to a site. So that is a reason alone why you should look like you have a high quality site, why you should have a modern design, why you should look like an upstanding business. Just because if the manual web spam team ever looks at your site and goes, oh, this is a crappy design or kind of a chintzy looking site, yeah, penalize, you know, it's called bias, people. It's called prejudice. Something you can see, unfortunately, a lot in the world today. It has not gone away in any shape or form, and it's human beings who are not well educated seem to have it. I'm going to deny Freud here and say it's not a genetic trait. It's not a human genetic trait. It's an educational trait. Sorry to get philosophical on you, but I deny Freud entirely, or mostly entirely. I think of Freud's emotions, his statement about emotions, kind of like the way that people talk about links in SEO. Yeah, it's there, but it's not the most important thing. Anyway, that's a philosophical aside for you. I also did a PhD in philosophy, or I was doing one. I quit because SEO was more fun and I make more money doing it. And who wants to grade papers all day? So anyway, moving right along to the SEO knowledge. So he does, this is fascinating. He does point blank admit that the manual web spam team will take website quality into consideration when deciding to apply a penalty. So who knows what that means? Do they, because you know that John Mueller and everyone at Google who works on the manual web spam team and all the webmaster trends analysts like Gary Ilyish and Andrei Lepatsev. Gary Ilyish works in the Zurich office with John Mueller over in Switzerland. Andrei Lepatsev works in the Dublin office, even though he's a Russian fellow. He works in the Dublin office for Google. And other webmaster trends analysts like these folks and people on the manual web spam team, two different teams, but they deal with the public, so to speak. They have on their browser, they have a special browser from Google, and they can click around and they see immediately what's on your site. They see the flags on all the links, whether it's Penguin link or it's a disavowed link or it's a quality link or it's a paid link, it's a main content link, it's a sidebar link. They see all that like that. They see the penalties that are on a site. He can tell in 5 seconds. This is the kind of annoying thing. John Mueller has already admitted even though he didn't want to, but he admitted because he broke down and did it for a couple people. And really, in terms of public relations, he shouldn't have, because now we know he can do it. And now we ask him. And now he says, oh, I can't do it. It's harder than this, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. He sees, he goes to a website and it shows up on his screen. It's like an overlay for him of what's affecting the site. Panda, Penguin, whatever, interstitial penalty, pure spam penalty. He sees it all just like that. And so it's probably that information the manual web spam team is using when they see it. You probably see your quality score of 3 out of 10. Whatever. It looks like they're breaking the rules to me, and it's a low quality site. Flush down the toilet. So anyway, guys, you've got to protect yourselves, right? Having a high quality site, a good design and high quality site will improve conversions, improve your brand, improve your sales, and it will make it less likely that Google is going to penalize you because you look like an upstanding citizen. If you're a certain person dressed and looking in a certain way, walking down the street, it's less likely that police are going to stop and frisk you than if you look a different way. Let's just put it that way, not to put too fine a point on it, because the police, unfortunately, in both cases, Google and the regular police, can sometimes have biases. Not all of them, of course, but sometimes they can. So it's a way of protecting yourself. So consider this the talk. Consider this the SEO talk of how to deal with Google when they pull you over. Look as upstanding as possible. Boy, I'm awfully political today. I wonder if it could be because of the new U.S. president has got me riled. I don't know why that would be. He seems to be such a wonderful fellow. Moving right along, he doesn't scare the hell out of everyone outside of the U.S. And finally in this hangout, John Mueller admits that they do read HTML and the design and compare them, and that this makes a difference for the ranking. So that's why they have that bit in Search Console, guys, that they show you what Chrome sees and what Googlebot sees. And if there's a difference there, that is a ranking problem. And John Mueller just admitted it again. He's admitted it before, and he's admitted it again. And you can make the educated guess that if they took the time to put it in Search Console, then you know that it's an issue they want you to deal with, and they're probably going to reward you for doing so and or demote you for not. Google is not about being nice. Google is about whatever makes it easier for them. They have over 40 trillion web pages to sort and rank. And so they're being extremely picky. And the more you help them, the more they're going to let you through. The nicer they're going to be to you. Okay. Let's see here. January 12th, Barry from SE Roundtable, one of my favorite fellas, he reported that the link operator no longer works. The link operator was link : to a website, and Google used to tell you the links like 10 years ago. It hasn't really worked reliably for the last 5 years or so, 6, 7 years. And now they've disincluded it entirely. They're not running it at all. So it doesn't work at all anymore. And they've publicly admitted now that it no longer works. Why would they do that? Think about it for a second. Why would they A, make it not work anymore, and B, tell you it doesn't work anymore? Just like very late in the game, they said they're not updating the PageRank algorithm toolbar anymore. For me, this is my opinion, but it's because I think this is the wink and a nod they give to white hats who are clueless and just go to the conferences and the entire base of their SEO knowledge is what Google tells them at conferences. That, hey guys, links are not as important as they used to be anymore. Quality is all they say. So I think that's what's going on. And I think that's why why bother announcing it? I think that's the reason why they announced it. Okay, now, on January 13th, John Mueller had another hangout. And this is very interesting. He admitted that this is another bit of political bit, but Google political. Political as it relates to Google. Small p political in terms of the internal politics of Google. John Mueller admitted that Paul Haar is, as far as I know, a developer, one of the senior engineers at Google. I personally think either Paul Haar took over Matt Cutt's head of search quality job, or Brian White took over Matt Cutt's head of Google search quality. I think that's the case. Barry suggested a couple of years ago that Paul Haar did, and Matt Cutts recently suggested that Brian White did. So who knows which one it is. Either way, they're kind of both pricks for not admitting this to be the case. because they don't want assholes like me coming onto their Twitter or bugging them on Google Plus or their email or whatnot, being like, why are these your policies? These policies are unethical. You're not taking the high road. You're not being forgiving. You're not being the good guys that you say you are. You're not giving people a chance. You're being far too draconian. You're prioritizing brands way too much, blah, 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 blah. That's why they don't want to, it's pretty obvious. That's why they don't want to admit publicly that they work this job anymore, because it's a losing proposition. It's like being the press secretary for Trump, Sean Spicer, and having to explain every day why that guy says those things. So, and he did mention that Paul Haar, and the reason why I'm saying he said this is because he says, John Mueller said that Paul Haar, and I quote, makes a lot of these quality decisions as well. So he's probably the lead of Google search quality. That's going to be only of interest to some people who just are really into SEO and really into the politics of Google. Because if you can understand the politics of Google, you can understand a lot about SEO as well. And sometimes when you have to make a guess, should I do this or should I do that? What is Google going to think about this? If you know the internal politics of Google, you can make a better guess in those kind of situations, which unfortunately, as much as we like to proceed by experiments and experience, at some point you just got to make a guess. And that's just the way it is, because Google controls all the cards. It's the black box of nature that Google controls that we don't have direct access to. Scientists have better access to nature than SEOs have access to Google's physics, if you will. Okay. Let me see. John Mueller implies that TV ad search Google traffic would be good. So a lot of people are worried about having a boost of links or a sudden influx of traffic that would look unnatural to Google. No, it doesn't. People do TV ads and radio ads all the time. And then so everyone's watching TV, sees about this new website and goes, oh, and searches it in Google. That happens all the time. And John Mueller said, actually, it's a good thing if that happens. So again, he said there's nothing wrong with traffic bursts. And quite frankly, John Mueller has leaked before in the past, and black hats know as well, that if you have a lot of navigational searches, that this is a good thing for your ranking signal. This is a very strong signal. I've done audits on sites that had very few links, but had like thousands of people. I don't know why. It's a very popular site for some reason, mostly because it was designed really well and did what it needed to do really well in a high traffic topic. Had thousands of searches a month looking for that brand, and it ranked all over the place for nearly anything. Google was like, oh, I'll rank you for this, I'll rank you for that. One of these times where Google was like bending over backwards to rank this site for stuff that even barely had anything to do with, is because it had so many people searching for them per month. It had like a page rank of 2 out of 10 or something like that, like a PA of like 20, like it was just ridiculous. DA was really low as well. But it had thousands of people searching for it for some reason in all different kinds of variations. And so that's a very strong signal to Google. How do you do that? Well, have a great site, have it kitschy, do TV ads, do radio ads, have a little billboard on your site saying, hey, search for us. Put out thousands of articles out there, not with links, but with a URL that said with a bracket behind it, just highlight this and search Google for us, end bracket, right? Just for your brand name. Not even a www or whatever.com, just for your brand name. They'll highlight it, search it in Google, and then click on you, and that's the signal, right? So there's tons of different ways to game it, to exploit it, to optimize for it. Okay. He did mention in this Hangout again that one topic per page is very important. Not one keyword necessarily, one topic. So if your topic is weird Xmas presents, or strange Christmas gifts, it's the same topic, just different words. It doesn't matter. So you can use all those different words. And he has leaked in the past that synonyms will be exchanged at nearly 100%. So that'll be perfectly fine. And you see this all the time. You see sites ranking for queries that don't even show up on the page anywhere. They have a keyword density of this keyword of 0%, but Google's still ranking them for it because it means the same thing as something they do have quite a high keyword density for. So if you have the quality, and they'll rank you for it, right? The higher your quality, the more they will bend over backwards to rank you for it. Let's see. He did admit that bigger sites still do rank a bit better. So again, whether that's because of internal link juice or because of it accrues bigger signals, who knows why, but bigger sites do seem to rank better. The crux there is you got to make sure that every page is high quality. If every page is not high quality, you can't just artificially inflate that, because that Google's well aware of that tactic, and that's exactly what Panda was made to demote originally. And here's another interesting one for clicks. He admitted that even in Incognito, that they track your session and will change your rankings based on that. So they're watching your clicks even in Incognito mode. So because that's the way he talked about it. He didn't talk about that they were watching your IP address. He said ignoring. And this was the subtext of this conversation: ignoring geographic ranking factors, ignoring IP ranking factors. That even in Incognito mode, whether you're logged in or not, he said logged in personalization is tracked in this way, but he said Incognito still has some level of personal tracking. The only thing that could be tracking there when you're in Incognito mode because you're not logged in is clicks. And that was the subtext of this conversation. You don't believe me? Go watch the Hangout yourself. It was closer to the end of the Hangout on January 13th. So my last note from that Hangout. So it's closer to the end of the Hangout. He was talking with Dawn, I believe, a young lady from the UK, judging by her accent. And if I recall correctly, and he mentioned in Incognito mode, this was the subtext of this conversation, that they're ignoring geographic, just talking about personalization, and versus Incognito. John Mueller did admit, as he normally does, to pretty women. He's usually a little bit more forthcoming with pretty women. Some of my black hat friends made the joke recently that, well, what we should do is we should get 10 really attractive women and get them all into the Hangout, right? And seated with questions that they can ask. 10 charming women, good-looking women who could disarm John Mueller, and his head will be spinning. Oh, all these pretty women. So I kid, kind of, mostly kid. I'm half serious. It's not a half bad idea, actually. Hey, the CIA has been doing it for years. It works. So he admitted, even in Incognito mode, they're tracking sessions for personalization. That's got to be clicks. It's got to be where you click. How can they do that in Incognito mode? Easily, because they control the Safe Browse feature, which is the feature that watches everything everyone clicks on to see if that URL is in the malware database, so they can put up the red screen of death. This is a malware site. They got to track your IP address, what you click on. Gary Ilyash was even so arrogant a couple of years ago that he tweeted out a screenshot of their reporting tool. It tells them this IP address was a web surfer traffic or mobile traffic that was different in the table. At this time clicked here, this time clicked here. So they know how long you went, and they know how deep you went. That's how they calculate the quality score. Okay, now here's a very fascinating thing. So January 31st, my super secret SEO testing group that I'm part of actually did a single variable SEO experiment where we made 5 fake, you may have heard this news before, but I'll say it again because it's that important. We made 5 fake sites, made them all have a keyword density like a lorem ipsum sites, made them all have a keyword density of 2% for a certain keyword, let's call it blue whatsits. And then one site we cranked up to have 3% keyword density. As soon as we did that, it popped to the top. 4% is still at the top, 5% still at the top. So that's 3% higher than everybody else, so they're 2%. As soon as we put it at 6% keyword density, it went right to the very bottom of the SERP. So that was 4% over everybody else, and that was 6% in total. So what can we draw from this? Well, if keyword density, 1, matters. 2, you got to be in the ballpark of where everyone else is. 3, you might want to be like maybe 1% or 2% higher than they are, and you're going to get a bit of a boost from that. Actually, quite a strong boost. Although there was no social to speak of, quality to speak of, or links modifying these searches because they were just 5 fake sites that we made with lorem ipsum gibberish. So, but it's still a factor. But if you go 4% over everybody else and or 6% generally, you're going to get hit. But it doesn't make any sense because every niche, every shard collection, the 1,000 sites they get back, every shard collection is going to have a different keyword density depending on the niche. So I think personally, it's if you're 4% above everybody else, then you're going to get an over-optimization keyword penalty that they've talked about for years, that Matt Cutts talked about. This is exactly before Matt Cutts left. He made a video saying that if your keyword density, you improve it, you're going to go up and up and up and up, and suddenly you're going to get hit. So he said, just don't bother with it. Don't worry. So I think it's around 4%. So make sure you are not 4% over at least the people on the SERP. You can download the SERPworks search overlay. You have to pay for it. But if you download the SERPworks, SERPWORX, SERPworks overlay, you have to pay for it. But it'll tell you the keyword density of all the people on that SERP. And then if you list by 100, it'll give you that complete keyword density. You have to do some math. Or there's another program you can use to do it. It's fairly expensive though. Email me if it's my correlation software that Ted Kobitis built, and I helped him work on at the early stages of it. He was my good friend, and he's often on my White Hat versus Black Hat SEO podcast. He's a really good SEO. He knows his stuff. And he built this correlation software as well. If this is all news to you, email me and I'll explain everything, or go back and watch some of my previous videos where I explain all this stuff. I show the experiments from these different things and whatnot. So anyway, keyword density, very important. On-page SEO, as you find, is something that you can change, you have complete control of. Make sure you are not 4% over the average of these folks here. Find what the average is for the top 10 or top 100 if you really want to be safe, and be 1 or 2% over it, and you will be getting that keyword boost. So that's very, very important. Okay, we're at half an hour in. I've got just a few more important things to go over. And so then I'll have all the leaks up to date down, except I haven't watched one John Mueller video that I still have yet to watch. So let's see. But this is very important stuff here. Okay, so on January 24th, John Mueller was asked, actually, this is the only important one from that hangout. So on January 24th, John Mueller was asked whether they should no-index thin pages. So what's a thin page? A thin page is like a crap kind of page. It has like a single sentence, or it doesn't really seem to be that great of a page. Could be like a forum profile page, or just kind of like some kind of crap page like that. And he was asked whether they should no-index thin pages. So when asked whether to remove thin pages, John Mueller talked about it in terms of, so this is very fascinating. He did not talk about it in terms of, well, there's only a single sentence, maybe you should no-index it. Or if there's this other static factor about it, maybe you should no-index it. He talked about it like this. You want more evidence for clicks? Here it is. He talked about it in this, and I quote, "What queries would this page rank for? ... What would they do next after reading it? Would they make a sale? End quote, etc." So when John Mueller was asked, should I no-index, what pages should I no-index? He said, you should no-index the pages that are not performing well. If you're going to no-index any page, they've also, both Gary Eliash and John Mueller has gone on record to say you shouldn't no-index any page at all, brackets, because that's going to affect your ranking because bigger sites rank better. Remember where you learned that, end bracket. That you should try to make every page as good as possible. And then if you can't do that or failing that, then no-index them. And what pages should you no-index? The pages that are not performing well. And how do you know whether they're performing well? Think about, what are people searching for? How do you look in the SERP? What do they want? Do they get what they want on your page? Do they keep going in and make a sale? Or do they leave? That's how you have to think about it. And John Mueller said that point blank specifically in this hangout. I was a direct quote from him. So you have to worry about your internal bounce rate, because if they're bouncing all over your site, not making a purchase, you have to worry about the task completion. What was their task? Did they want to be informed? Did they want to be informed and make a purchase? Those are really the two ones, quite frankly. So did they? Did they do those things? Yes or no? You can tell by your Google Analytics. Sorry, my glasses are on sideways here. It drives me crazy. It might drive you crazy too. Oh well. Welcome to the Nut House. Here we are in the Nut House. And user clicks are important. And the entire purpose of whether or not to have a page indexed is whether or not it will perform for the users. If it will perform, then yes. If not, then you have to either fix it or no-index it, or the Panda bug is going to bite you. So this is how it works, is that if they end up on a no-indexed page, so he's kind of admitted, and I've wondered, okay, well, how does that work for the quality score? So if a no-indexed page is in the loop for quality score, that quality score calculation is null. That's what I'm thinking, right? If they go from the SERP to the first page, they can track it. Second page, they go to a no-index page, that is all null. They don't know what's on that page technically. They don't know if they completed. I mean, I guess they can tell if they go back and forth. Even if there's no index, they can see them tracking it. But for some reason, they seem to honor this no index ability for you to back out, for you to opt out of their quality ranking algorithms. So here's a way that you can, if you've got traffic that's not doing well, and keep in mind, they can track traffic from any source, paid traffic, organic traffic, mobile traffic. They can all track it because all modern browsers use the Safe Browse feature, and the Safe Browse database is controlled entirely by Google, and they provide the API to get access to it, where they know all these things, right? And John Mueller told me in a private hangout after one Christmas, just in 2015, he told me. So he admitted it, as they sometimes do, to SEOs who have been in the know for a long time. I'm just waiting until my documentary about Google comes out. Then he might not be so forthcoming to me. I might not be able to give these leaks anymore as well as I can now. But I can still watch the public stuff and interpret and read between the lines of what they're talking about. Probably not. Probably not. They probably would still even take my questions. They probably wouldn't notice my documentary comes out. But okay. So again, that's very important. And that's a little tidbit of information. Make your page better, preferably, because if you remove pages, you're going to lose some rankings. Once you get them, you don't want to lose them. But so make the page better if you can, so that it's converting. It's whatever it's supposed to do. It's completing that task. It's informing them, if they want to be informed. And I got even more information about that for you right now. Gary Ilyish, just a few days ago, February 7th, yesterday in fact, tweeted out something. And he said, I'll just read out what he said. He was asked, Rand Fishkin tweeted out a study about how quality is much more important than links. And in it, Rand Fishkin said that the domain authority is probably what is ranking some of these pages. Gary Ilyish, denied that point blank, denied that domain authority is an important ranking factor, implying that page authority is much more important than domain authority. And then 2, he fully admitted, and I'll quote him, he said, the DA thingy and sometimes a bounce back can be really good. If I found out what I wanted in 2 seconds, what will I do? So he's saying a DA is not always a problem, and a bounce back is not always a problem because, and I quote, if I found out what I wanted in 2 seconds, what will I do? So he's even telling you, he's throwing them a bone. He's saying, guys, like a 98% bounce rate or a drop-off rate on a blog page is not necessarily a problem, as long as you informed them, right? Some people had a question. They wanted to know, when's it 2018 this happening? They click on a blog page, they read the information, they bounce back to Google, and they do another search, or they close the tab. It's not the bounce back that's necessarily the issue. It's like doing a test that shows your one liver enzyme is high. It doesn't mean you have cirrhosis of the liver. It just means one liver enzyme is high. But it means you need to do deeper investigations. So your bounce rate is 98% on 90% of your pages. Okay, why is that? Is it because your website sucks, which is what normally is the case? And I do audits. I do hundreds of audits a year, and I see this all day, every day. Or is it because your website's great, they got the information they wanted, and they left? That's not a problem. So as Gary Ilyish is telling you point blank, people hate it when I say that, point blank, point blank, point blank, point blank, point blank. I said it 3-4 times. Suck it. Gary Ilyish is saying it's not that the bounce is the issue, it's what do they do after that. Do they click another result and then they're finally satisfied, then they close the tab or do a different search on a different topic entirely? That was success. That person's quality score gets better. They go up. Maybe your quality score gets worse. I don't know. I think they're probably just promoting the winners in the quality score. At least that's how the 2012 patent, from what I read, was not specific if they would demote or promote. Some black hats tell me they think they're demoting the losers and promoting the winners. I think they're just, because that would be a double whammy though. That would be a double strong algorithm. I think they're just promoting the winners. Whoever terminates that search, got 10 guys saying, hey, I can do it. Try one guy, no. Try the next guy, no. Try the third guy, success. Search terminated. That person not looking anymore. They get a boost in their quality score. They go up. As a result, everyone else in that SERP goes down, just in terms of quality score. And then there's all the other page rank and the latent semantic indexing of their pages as well. Brings things up and down. And then Google makes whatever changes in the SERP they want. They want to prioritize brands. They want to do this. They want to do that. They tweak the local. They tweak personalization. There's all those factors. Furthermore, then somebody said, I absolutely agree. I don't get why people are so concerned. I don't get why people is so concerned about time on page. If users can find info easily, where's the problem? And then Gary Ilyish responded to this person, whose name is Pablo Fernandez. Gary Ilyish responded, time on page can be tricky. Here's the important part. He said, for example, if you have a buy button on the page, but people don't convert in 20 minutes, you should look into that. I repeat, he said, time on page can be tricky. He did not say, forget time on page, we don't look at it. That's not what he said. He said, time on page can be tricky. This is a tweet. You can look at it. I can give it to you. I can email you the screenshot I have here as well. I'm just too lazy to break into share screen because I like to look at my own face here because I'm arrogant, quite frankly, and conceited. But you already knew that. Watching me for years, you're well aware of the giant size of Josh's ego. Time on page can be tricky, he says. For example, if you have a buy button on the page, but people don't convert in 20 minutes, you should look into that. So I know how to interpret what Gary Ilya says and what he means when he says stuff. This is him throwing us another direct bone, saying, hey guys, if you have an e-commerce page or you have a conversion button on that page for a free quote, for whatever it is, and that's what they're supposed to be doing on that page, you're supposed to be selling them, it's a sales page, and they don't do this in 20 minutes, you should look into that. So they're also tracking the time on page. They're tracking the time on page, and they know they can tell the difference between they're rendering the page. They can tell the difference between a conversion page and an information page. They can watch your mouse and tell you what the hell you're doing if you're on Chrome anyway. So, and they are watching the mouse because this is their new I'm not a robot. That's how it works. They've already admitted they're watching the mouse in Chrome. And if you have that JavaScript on the page, they're watching the mouse. And if for the I am not a robot, click go. That's how that works. That's why you just have to click it and go, and it analyzes your patterns and says, okay, I don't think you're a robot, and go. So this is another very interesting point of information. If people are humming and hawing on your sales page for 20 minutes and they're not making a purchase, that's going to be a ranking problem. That's part of your quality score. So that is all the information I wanted to tell you. He implies that DA doesn't matter, that PA on topic LSI matters. Also, that bounce alone, of course, is not the issue. Did you terminate the search? That's the issue. And that the quality score also takes into account the time on page, especially for conversion pages. So I'm 41 minutes in, so that's, I think, a good place to stop for now. And that's pretty much all I had to say for today. I have one John Mueller Hangout to look at again, but you're pretty much caught up. So again, guys, watch your quality score. I hate to sound like a broken record, but watch your quality score. I'll say it a million times. If you want to know how to calculate your quality score, the new page rank, email me. I'd love to help you do it. If you have any other questions about SEO, email me. I'd love to help you out. You can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski, and you can watch more SEO experiments, really great interviews with top-level SEO people in my White Hat versus Black Hat SEO podcast, Black Hat secrets on that podcast, and White Hat secrets in that SEO podcast, and other SEO hangouts with me, with experiments, tips, tricks, leaks from Google, and all the SEO information that will help you rank definitely above your competitors. I've given you like 3 today that will help you outrank your competitors. So if you have any SEO questions or need anything by SEO services or anything like that, email me. I'm always here in the desert with the dinosaurs. Sometimes I'm playing guitar there, the bass. Noah will not play it for you. So with that, I bid you adieu and good luck in the SERPs. And if you have any questions, by all means, let me know.